think I'm streaming now. I'm not sure. Am I streaming? Okay. Hey,
Hey,
can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, cool. Cool. Let me get my stuff in order on what I want to go with first. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Um,
I'm trying to look for your live stream on Facebook so I can share it to my page.
oh, great. We got a couple of views already. I appreciate that. Thank you all for coming in. I'm thankful for that. There's
Yeah,
things that people do not want to talk about. Before we jump into that, let me throw up my disclaimer real quick. This topic of conversation is to educate, share, and receive knowledge. I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I do not have any formal education on the subject that we are going to talk about this evening. I am a not sexual, child sexual abuse survivor. Or can I say it the other way? I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse. Um,
hmm Hey, check your camera quick.
what's one? Can you see me?
No, I can't see you anymore.
Oh, did it go dark?
Yeah, it just went dark.
I'm doing, yeah, I'm on.
Okay. We can keep rocking then.
You serious? Because I can see you clear.
Okay, I can't see you, but I'm gonna go to the page. I'm gonna go to my page, and if
Go to your
you're still
page.
showing, just keep rocking.
Okay, cool. Um, all right. Can you see it there?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we can keep going. All right, let's talk about first off, let me introduce myself if y'all do not already know me. My name is Renee. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm currently down here in Houston, Texas. I am a mother. I am a nurse. I'm a friend. I'm an aunt. I'm a sister. And I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse. John, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. John Nicholson here, aka John Skywalker, the Sly Talker, lyricist, spoken word artist, personal trainer, martial artist, lover of life, student of psychology, father, and as she would have it, also aspiring life coach. Let me just plug myself in real quick. If
Plug.
you love hip hop artists such as Common, Lupe Fiasco, J. Cole, uh, you should stream my albums. Available on all streaming platforms right now. They're titled Dimensions and Higher Dimensions. I'm also offering a 30-day superfoods detox package that will help you cleanse your body, lose weight, and guide you on the path to a healthier lifestyle. And I'm accepting clients for personal training right now, virtually. So holla at me.
I be falling off the wagon. I can't hang. And he's off. He didn't mention that he is my best friend. Oh my God. Johnny, I'm gonna dance at his wedding when him and Tanya gets married, whenever he gets ready to pop that question. Is she watching? Oh shit.
No, Toya, that's her. You said
Oh,
Tanya.
it's Toya. You know what? I'm bad with names.
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyway, let's just go ahead and jump into this. According to the NSPCC, child sexual, which is also called child molestation, can be broken down into two types: contact and non contact. Your non contact is going to be online only. This is where the predators are sending children pornography, tricking them into doing things, exchanging sexting, all of that. And then with your contact, this is going to be done by force or tricking the child into doing the sexual activities. Signs to look for: emotional and physical sexual abuse. When it comes to the emotional part, they're going to avoid being alone. They're going to walk around angry. They may feel scared being around this person. They may even have self harm. When it comes to the physical sexual abuse, You're going to notice bruising, especially around the genital areas, bleeding, discharge, pain, soreness, STDs, and pregnancy. These are all signs to look for. Now, John is going to go into the statistics, the numbers.
All right. Before I get started on, shooting some numbers at you guys, I want to highlight something. Not only is it very difficult for us to discuss child sexual abuse in these kind of spaces, but it's also very challenging to study this. Okay. Statistics are a way for us to communicate the seriousness and how widespread sexual abuse is. And since secrecy and silence fuel sexual abuse to continue, it's
Mm.
important that we recognize how often that it happens. Overall, it is very difficult to gather stats about the prevalence of child sex abuse due to the lack of victim disclosure, them coming forth and just saying that it happened. And I really want you guys to think about that, okay? How can you measure what is kept secret?
Mm.
So let's get into some stats, right? In 2008, the Child Protective Services found evidence, or at least strong evidence, to indicate that about 70,000 children were victims of sexual abuse. Okay, in 2016, that number dropped down to 57,000 approximately. In 2019, that number dropped down again to 47,000. So we're seeing a trend, but I want you guys to understand something. We don't know with absolute confidence if that is because there's underreporting or if it's really just happening less. We don't know. Okay. The highest rates of child sexual abuse is in Africa at 34%. And if you guys are doing any research on Google about this and you're looking at statistics and we see lower numbers or lower rates for males, it may not be that it's happening less for males, but it just may be due to underreporting. So that's a variable to consider here. Some other stats I'm going to throw at you guys. 1 in 9 girls and 1 in 53 boys under the age of 18 experience sexual abuse by an adult. Now, back in 2010 or a little bit before 2010, that used to be 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys. So again, we see a trend, but we can't really explain what's going on here. 82% of all victims under the age of 18 are female. In terms of effects into adulthood, victims of child sexual abuse are 4 times more likely to develop symptoms of drug abuse, 4 times more likely to experience PTSD symptoms in adulthood, and about 3 times more likely to experience a major depressive episode as an adult. Um, According to CPS, in 88% of sexual abuse cases, the perpetrator is male. In 9% of them, the perpetrator is female. Now, among the child sexual abuse cases reported to law enforcement, 7% of those cases were with strangers, 34% were with family members, and 59% were with acquaintances. 93% of all of them were by victims or were by perpetrators that they knew. The victims knew the perpetrator in 93% of those cases. More than a third of women report being raped before the age of 18 also experience rape as an adult. Survivors of child sexual abuse are also more likely to experience rape and interpartner violence in adulthood. So, what we're saying here is that there tends to be a pattern in who we attract into adulthood after an event like this happens, and it's unconscious.
Oh, yeah.
76% of child sexual abuse cases were perpetrated by married men. 76% of the cases were also done by adults, which leaves room to wonder about children sexually abusing other children. Okay. The last two things I want to share with you guys. Um, while there is an upward trend of children coming forward to disclose their sexual abuse to authorities, more than a third of children do not disclose when they're interviewed. Those who are younger and male are at greatest risk. Boys don't
Yeah.
talk like that. Okay.
No.
Last thing I want to say in regards to all of this research, psychological research can only find an association, relationship, link, connection between mental illness and child sexual abuse. We cannot say that caused it because there's a difference between cause and the onset of a mental illness. That's all I got.
That really does bother me, because had it not been for the what happened, these children would not be growing up act like this. I mean, I get what you're saying though. Effects of
Mhm.
sexual child abuse has short and long term effects, and some can last up to a lifetime. And these mental illnesses can be anywhere from anxiety, depression, eating disorder, PTSD, and if you don't know what that is post traumatic stress disorder, difficulty coping with stress, self harm, suicidal thoughts, STDs, feeling shame and guilt. Now, I can only go off of my experience of walking around thinking I did this. I actually
Mm.
blamed myself, like this is my fault, and I felt bad. Not to mention the threats that was made, but and also relationship problems, family with friends, partners, trust issues, control issues. Um, Even there's a connection with how they act afterward, male and female. They both tend to be a little promiscuous.
Mhm.
So at what point, what do you do? What do you do
Mm.
when a child comes to you and tells you that this has happened? You need to listen to them. Listen to them and make sure you tell them that it is not their fault, because trust me, it takes a lot of courage and strength for them to come to their parents to say, hey, this has happened to them. And when it does go
Mm.
unreported, that's because they don't have they don't know how to verbalize it. How do you
Mm.
verbalize that? They don't have the language. They're too busy being children. They're supposed to be running around here playing ball and kickball with their friends. And here it is, this adult is preying on them. So when you say, the cases that's been reported, you have those unreported cases. That's because these children don't know how to verbalize it. Two, they don't feel safe around the people
Mm.
that they are with to do anything about it. So if I come to you and this has happened to me, I told my mother, hey, this happened to me. I was not believed. And at that point, that's just like, well, what was the point? It just adds on to all the guilt and shame that you are already walking around with, and it doesn't do anything for your mental health. So
Mm.
you want to add anything to that?
Oh no, no, no. I don't really have much to add to that one.
Okay, let's talk about prevention. How do we prevent it now that we know that 93% of the people, is it 93 or 96? Because I don't want to get the numbers wrong.
Mm.
Is it 93?
93. No, no, I'm sorry. No, no, no. It's well,
It's
we know
okay.
it's over 90%.
It's
Yeah,
over
yeah,
90%. So 9 times out of 10,
yeah. It's
it's
93.
someone
It's
that
93.
they know. So I can only speak from my experience on why it happened to me. Um, my mother, I love her dearly. God rest her soul. But she was more into her husband to notice that this was happening to her child. So I would urge all women, pay attention to your children and who you're bringing around. You're always going to see signs because we tend to go quiet. We're not the same after something like that happens. And if you're not talking to your children every day, you're not going to pick that up. you're not going to pick that up. You're not going to notice it because if your mind is elsewhere, you're not going to see that, okay, over here, something is going on, period. You have anything you want to add to that?
Oh, there's quite a few things.
Go
So
ahead.
interesting enough, if the perpetrator is typically somebody that we know, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's also a question of when you look at those stats, like we captured 34% for family members. So you trust your
Mm,
family members.
you do. You trust your
At
family
what point
members.
are you going? Yeah. At what point are you going to question or even be suspicious of your family members? Right.
Hope.
And uh, out here in the community, when issues are raised, we often are dismayed by the fact that we don't like to talk about it. We don't like to bring it to the forefront. We
I
like to
was
have
just,
those family secrets. We like
yeah,
to keep it all
I was
shrouded in
just
mystery,
gonna say that.
right? And I have a couple of theories, but for the most part, it's kind of hard to bring that to the forefront when we don't understand what our intent is. The ultimate intent is justice. We want to restore balance,
Mhm.
right? But even
Protection,
involved in that is healing.
protection,
Prevention, yes.
protection.
Protection and prevention. Protection and
Okay.
prevention, right? But at the
Right.
same time, again, we walk around with these assumptions, okay? This is my family. My family got me. That is
Hmm.
core beliefs of ours, that our
Right.
family is going to look after us. That's why we have family. We have family
Right.
for safety, security, provision, right? Support.
Hmm.
So you wouldn't imagine a family member doing this to one of your kids if, let's just say, for example, you got a cousin or an uncle and they're buying them Christmas gifts. They're taking them to the park. They're taking them out to get ice cream. They're picking them up from school for you. They're taking them to the hospital when you couldn't because you were working overtime or whatever. These are family members that help you in raising your kids. It takes a village, right? So you trust these people and you don't have any sneaking suspicions about them because they're doing right by your kids as far as you know.
Not in all cases.
And there are those instances where
Not
they
in
are
all
alone.
cases.
So how can you be cognizant of that as a parent, right?
Right.
A lot of us are adults and we still haven't told our parents. So you're living with this your entire life. You probably developed some unhealthy defense mechanisms to keep this in the pocket.
Oh,
But if
absolutely.
you couldn't tell them back then, and you still can't even tell them as an adult, and you become a parent, what could you do differently than your parent? What could you do differently? Could you
And
really
that's
just go ahead? Go ahead.
and that's if I didn't tell my parent, what would I do
Mhm.
differently at this? Well, I can't speak on that because I told my mother. But as a
Mhm.
parent, I keep a watchful eye on who I bring around my children. Um, Now, for my oldest daughter, I did ask her permission before sharing. I was not able to stop hers. Hers actually happened at school. So it wasn't someone that was coming
Mhm.
into the home like it was with me. Hers actually happened at school. She still hasn't talked about it. And I told her, I will be here when you are ready. Um, but you go into, you want to protect them, you know. And to go back to family being your number one, no, not in all cases. We need to acknowledge that some families out there know that certain family members are like this and
Mhm.
are not doing anything about it. Period. People don't want to recognize that. Now that is something that me and I don't want to say her name, but we just had this discussion earlier this year how a certain family member was doing this to all of the children. Everyone knew about it, but did nobody do anything about it. Before we tell our children, don't go around that person, why don't we not have that person around our children? Prevention,
Mm,
protection, safety, protect them. We want healthy,
mm,
like you said, we want healthy adults running this world. But if these children are out here being sexually abused and then walking away with several mental illnesses, that's going to affect them either then or later on, because some of this stuff can last a lifetime. We don't have healthy adults walking around. We have people who actually need help, who need therapy, who need to go somewhere and sit down and talk and get it all out.
mhm,
Serious. Uh, Not only that, they tend to, drug use
mhm.
after they've
To
been
cope.
sexually. Yeah, to cope. For me, I'm a workaholic, and I'm also very
Mm,
independent. I just now noticed this about myself when Tammy contacted me and she was like, we need to put our story out there. We need to put it out there. When I went back to the
mm,
first time that I was sexually abused, that man offered me a doll to go in that back room with him. A pretty doll, one I've seen on TV, on a commercial. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get that doll. If all I got to do is go in this back room with you, okay, I'm going to do that. That was easy enough to make the decision. Like, yeah, I'm just going in the back room. At least that's what I thought I was doing.
mm,
But I know after that moment, I don't allow for people to do a whole lot for me because I feel like something else is attached to it. I would rather do for people
mm.
than have them do for me. So yeah, when it says it stays with you for a lifetime, it really does. It really
Mm.
does. Mm-mm. Do you want to have anything you want to add, Mr. John, as far as prevention is
Uh,
concerned?
well, I think it's also it's a multidisciplinary effort. You know, raising awareness. We've been doing that for years.
Yeah,
Raising
we have.
awareness, raising awareness, and because awareness is key. Awareness is key to everything. Just knowing that there is a problem, you can't begin healing without awareness. So even us just having this discussion right here, raising awareness, but
Right.
of course, um, raising awareness is one aspect of it, and prevention includes a medley of strategies. And so I don't have all the strategies in front of me right
Right.
now.
Right.
Keeping a watchful eye, yeah, but you
Yeah.
also,
That's why. Yeah.
there's got to be a balance with that right there. There has to be a
Mhm.
balance with that right there, because you want your children to grow up independent. And if
Yeah.
you're always there, they can't be independent. So that's going to be tricky for a lot of parents, especially if you're a single parent and you don't have a social support system,
Mhm.
right? And if we're talking about that 59% being acquaintances, that can be as simple as your next door neighbor. That could be as simple as the boyfriend or the girlfriend you bring in. That could be as simple as your babysitter. So if this happens and you're monitoring your children and you don't really see a change in your children, but the event happened, it's almost it's very difficult for that parent to process that. And
It is. It is.
encouraging your children to come forward, that's easier said than done. Because
It
if
is.
you're, let's just say, for example, you're a single mom, right? You're a
Mhm.
single mom. You have two boys. One of them's molested, right? As a parent, you think that boy is just going to come because, oh, well, I gave birth to you and I have this relationship with you and I'm your mama. And,
Right.
you're supposed to trust me, right? So that's the assumption. But your son has a different perception of you as a mom. He might be
Mhm.
thinking, I don't want her to feel hurt. I want to
Right.
protect my mom's feelings. I don't want
Oh
to
yeah.
get in trouble for this. I don't want her to go kill anybody. I don't know how this is going to,
Right.
so we in this prevention aspect of it,
Mhm.
we're undermining also the perception of the child as to how they see this whole thing and their decision. as if, okay, well, you're not smart enough to know that you're supposed to talk to me. It's not that. We're going to develop our own adaptive strategies. They may not be the
Right.
healthiest, but we do what we can as children to cope and adapt. So I just want to caution that we have this expectation as parents that because we're parents, we're entitled to know what happened to our kids. Hey, you better
Right.
tell me if something goes down. And
Right.
as kids, you just don't say yeah because okay, I ain't trying to argue with mama. All right, yeah,
True.
I know until it happens, and
Then it's
then
like,
you move in a certain way. You move in a
right.
certain way as a child, and as a mother, you might be
Mm-hmm.
asking the questions like, "All right, boy," like you're not going to be thinking, "Okay, something happened to him," unless he's like
Mm-hmm.
really depressed and it's just lingering on, right? It might have happened. He might go through a little bit of a fit or whatever, and then he might
Mm-hmm.
return to his normal self and never tell you. And that happens. It happens.
It
So
happens.
we have to be careful. We have to be careful in what our expectations of prevention is, and in terms of imposing so much on parents, because if a parent were to find out that that happened to their child, knowing that, okay, it is my role, my responsibility to protect my baby,
Mm-hmm.
and you find out that that happened, you're going to
Yeah,
blame yourself as a parent, and
I
it's just
did.
going to ruminate in,
I
right?
did. I did. I blamed
Yeah,
myself.
how
I
could I
was
let
like,
this happen?
how did I let it happen? And when she told me when it happened
Right.
and where it happened, I was just like, the place I send you to go get an education, it happened at your school. And then I start thinking back on what changes did I see in her behavior, what she had started doing, but she wouldn't come out with it. She was not comfortable with me in sharing it, but shared it later on. She and I wouldn't say share. She finally said, "Yeah, something did happen." I said, "Okay, well, when you're ready to discuss everything, I'm here." She said, "I'm not ready right now," and I didn't force
Mm.
it. I did not force it. So yeah, it throws you off because that's when it happens to you. You tell yourself when you have children, you're not going to let this happen to them. This is the reason why I don't have people running in and out of my home, because I want my children to come home and this to be their safe space, to be themselves and to not have to worry about, okay, who's coming through the door and who's going to be over here. Mm-mm. No. So yeah, it does throw you off. And then when it happens, and you have another child, another girl, you sit down, you talk to them, you kind of use words that they will understand that, hey, if something like this happened, it is okay you to tell me. You know, in some cases, they don't always tell you because they feel
Yeah,
like
they'll dismiss it.
because they may feel like they're going to, like you said, get in trouble, or they are to blame. It's their fault.
Hmm.
So yeah. So now that we covered all of that prevention, I don't know. I don't know what more. I wanted to bring Shanice on like next week and just
Well,
share.
I would like to put something out there. If someone finds the confidence, if you're a listener, if someone finds the confidence to come to you and express that they've been a victim of child
Mm,
sexual abuse, or even if you have, right?
right.
While it's great for us to have these discussions, and while it's great to be the shoulder to lean on and be present with that person and acknowledge their feelings as valid and just listen and, just supportive, while that is great, the best guidance, the best support that you can do is to encourage them to seek counseling or therapy. You're not a professional. We're not professionals. You
No.
need to guide them towards professional help.
Right.
Most of us are working, right? If we're talking about
Right.
adults here, right? Okay,
Right.
so we're going to try to monitor and prevent it with children, but you have adults that have experienced this and they haven't addressed it. They haven't healed
Right.
from it. And as a result, it's impacting their relationships with other people. It's affecting their marriages. It's affecting their views on monogamy. Some people are just promiscuous. Some are hypersexual as a result of it, right?
Yeah.
So this
Oh,
affects the
yeah.
mind, which affects human behavior, and human behavior and the mind affects other relationships. If you realize that, this the prime the prime determinant of what's been going on in my relationships is me. I'm the core of what's been going on. I'm the constant variable. Maybe it's
Right.
me. And you find out, hey, you know what? Maybe there's a relationship. If that comes about, most of you are working. Most of you have employer sponsored health insurance. You pay for health insurance. So why not use the benefits of your health insurance? Make self care a priority in your life.
Mm.
The other thing is, if you've been having thoughts of suicide, visit the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline or call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-TALK. Okay. And if you know someone who has been affected by sexual violence, yes, it's not your fault, but there is a 24/7 hotline for that as well. National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE. Okay.
Mm.
Research these resources out there. They're
Yeah.
there for us. Use them. If there's
That,
something wrong, you got to seek some solutions.
but that's the
It's
hardest
not
thing
just
right
going to
there.
go away.
That's the hardest thing is admitting that you are what's wrong. That
That's
is the
fair. That's very fair.
hardest thing to look in the mirror and say, you know what, this is my fault, and all of this is rooted in certain situations or certain events that had happened. That has happened to you as a child, and it will just
Mhm.
stay with you for the rest of your life until you say, okay, you know what, I need to go ahead and address this because I can't continue to move forward like this because it's not working.
Mhm.
I don't
Right.
have, I can be honest, I don't have any healthy relationships with male besides yourself, and you're just my friend. But but when it comes to partners, my husband and I fell apart. The last guy that I was with, we fell apart. All these men were falling apart because I'm still holding on to something I actually thought I got rid of, and that's not the case. When I sat down and actually talked to a therapist, when he told me the day that my abuse happened, at that mental state was the day that was how I deal with the opposite sex. And I looked at him and he was like, he said, that's the day you began to lie to yourself. You had to make sense to what was going on. So you lied to yourself. And I was just like, oh, wow.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of clarity when you sit down and actually talk to a therapist, about these incidents or these events or whatever you want to call them that has happened to you and deal with them accordingly. Yeah, you'll be able to move forward. You're still going to have your little triggers, but you'll be able to cope with them, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
that was good that you put that number up there. That was good. John, I swear, you think of everything. You really do. You think of everything.
Not everything, but I
But you
think
thought of everything. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I was like, I'm glad I brought you on. Oh my God. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Um, Next week, I'm thinking we should talk to other people,
hmm
have a couple of guests on just to do a part two.
if they would be courageous to come along, and
Yeah,
with that being said,
I,
right there,
I
go
know
ahead
some
and extend that invite to the audience. Go ahead and
anyone
extend that
that
invite.
want you have anyone if you want to share your story about what has happened to you, um, reach out, call me. I can point you in the right direction. I know a good therapist. Trust me, I've been through a couple this year, so I got the perfect one right now. So yeah, can you? I'm sorry, is that my voice I hear? Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm just taking it one day at a time. Still, But yeah, reach out. I know Tammy and I were actually collecting our stories or collecting stories from other women to put in a book because we do need to shine a light on it because people are not talking about it and it's still happening. It is still happening. Even though the number says it's going down, those are just the reported cases. We're not talking about the ones that are going unreported, the ones where the children are feeling, too afraid to even speak up or not having someone around that they trust. So, yeah, it does need to have a light shine on it so we can have healthy adults around here. So, yeah. And thank you again for putting that number up. Thank you again for doing this for me. Thank you to all who are all watching. If you know someone who needs, share it with them, point them in the right direction. Yeah, get them to open up, get it off, see a therapist. Please, it will benefit from it in the long run. So yeah. Is there anything you want to add,
Health
Mr.
is
John?
wealth, and that
You
includes mental
better
health.
know it. Please go get this man's album. He has 2 songs on there called God Level.
Yeah.
Get it. So yeah, next week we'll be sharing. We'll be sharing. I think people need to know more about this. So, yeah.
By the way, guys, this is my handle right here, Master.John Skywalker on IG. Yeah, that's my handle.
See, and God Level is the name of my business. I'm actually wearing one of my shirts. You can't see it. Let me see if I can put it down. Bam. Nice. The boys. All right, John. Thank you so much, and thank everyone who took our time to watch this. I hope it was informative. This was my first live discussion, and I hope to be able to do this every Sunday at 7:00 with different topics under the umbrella of things that people do not want to talk about. If you have any suggestions, send them to me. I'll be happy to research it and present it to you. All right. All right. Bye.